I gotta hit buttons like a monkey.
Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. I think something is happening.
This week, on the Tower of Technobabble, we discuss just how funky a bot can be, go into some time travel conundrums, and then revisit the Dyatlov Pass incident and its surprising revelations. Then, we end up revisiting how homeless Hank, the Bigfoot corpse, might have gotten a new lease on life. Or maybe it's just another scam in a long line of scams. Probably that. Buckle up your britches. Welcome to the Tower of Technobabble.
Guys, I forgot to tell you all about my New Year's resolution.
Oh, were we doing that this year?
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
something we do?
well, I don't know about you guys, but I decided to enter a phase of personal rejuvenation and enlightenment, and so I have made a New Year's resolution.
You're going to go to the Integratron.
No, we sold the Integratron for video game money.
Yes.
Okay.
No, guys. This year, I resolved to learn nothing about the Steve Miller Band.
Like you're going to go out of your way.
Yes, I have a cone of silence between me and any knowledge of the 1970s rock band, the Steve Miller Band. It's because every time I learn more about the history of, one of my favorite bands, I always get a ton of drama and baggage that I would rather not have. And it just ends up ruining the songs. The other day I looked up Creedence Clearwater Revival on Wikipedia because I was trying to figure out the name of this album. And I got to reading about why they broke up because I never really knew why. And it turns out John Fogerty was a huge jerk. I mean, he was a really big, overbearing dictator and just a jerk. And he basically made these unreasonable demands. He bullied the other band members, drove his own brother away. And he basically took his musical ball and he went home. So now, every time I hear Born on the Bayou, all I'm going to think about, I am not going to think about how he was just a little child sitting on his daddy's knee. All I'm going to think about is how he's such a jerk and a douche. And here's something else. They weren't even from Bayou country. They were from San Francisco. So they were dirty, dirty liars. And this happens every time I want to learn more about a cool old rock band. So I am drawing the line at Steve Miller.
He's drawing the line here?
Here.
No farther?
I know nothing about Steve Miller, and based solely on his music, he sounds like a really nice guy. So, yeah.
He's from Indianapolis and made his...
No,
Detroit, though.
No.
In 1971, he suffered a broken neck in a car accident.
Not hearing you. No. I have a
true?
great
I just
year.
made up my fact.
I'm going to be flying like an eagle all through season 4. By the way, this is season 4, Tower of Technobabble season 4, episode 2. I am the repeater.
I'm the conduit.
And I'm Kentucky Slim.
It was actually fly by like a falcon, but eagle looked better in the rhyme scheme.
It was like Paul McCartney's scrambled eggs instead of yesterday.
Abracadabra, la 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 la.
Abracadabra has one of music's most lazy rhyme schemes. I'm gonna reach out and grab you. Really? Come on, Steve Miller. We expect better for you.
I kind of like that line, actually.
Oh, actually, the worst one is
gave me the willies.
They're going to Texas to see what the fax is. I believe is a line from one of his works.
Just don't ruin this for me. That's all I'm saying.
Hang on. Let me write this on the board.
How could we ruin what was already ruined?
It came pre-ruined. Pre-ruined!
Actually, I like Steve Miller Band. But anyway.
Yeah, we're still going to have to ruin it for Ben, though.
I know. That is my New Year's resolution.
Great. I'm going to open up my mailbox and there'll be a John Fogerty's greatest hits from Paul. Fine. Okay.
Steve Miller covers John Fogerty and is mean to his brother.
Move on. You guys are ruining this beautiful moment. Okay.
Tonight on
Tread Shoe Diaries.
All right. Tonight on Tread Shoe Diaries, we have a letter that says, Dear Towerbot, I keep hearing this song on the radio, and it's on TV commercials, and it's really cool and fast, but nobody I ask can tell me what the song is called or who it's by, and it's driving me crazy.
That would drive me
Can
crazy.
you help me? It's all techno and doesn't have any words, but it sort of goes like da 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 bow da 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 dun dun da 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 dun 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 da da dun da 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 dun der dun ba bow do 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 doon. Thanks, Anthony in Peoria, Illinois. Well, thank you, Anthony, for that.
And by the way, Paul,
insightful-
that was very lovely.
Yeah. I actually snuck a peek at that letter beforehand just so I could rehearse that bit. So
See, I can tell this isn't your first time behind a mic.
I know.
Not a bit like Wild Mountain Honey. Bit.
All right, Towerbot, what do you have to say?
Help him out.
I bet it's Steve Miller.
Dear Anthony, I've run through my exhaustive database of sweet beats and dope rhythms, but I'm afraid I've come up with nothing. I also consulted my friend Shazam, but he couldn't come up with an answer for you either. So, my advice to you is to crowdsource that bitch. Get in with a large group of people, say a shopping mall. Go to the most densely packed part of the mall, and then, at the top of your lungs, start screaming out the beat. In the moments before they taser your ass and throw you into mall jail, maybe someone will shout out, "Hey, why is that crazy guy screaming the beat to insert title here?" It's a long shot, but I really don't see another option. Oh, since you didn't ask but probably want to know anyway, I happen to be exceptionally funky. I can go from sex and death machine to dance and death machine at the flip of a switch. Drop that funky fresh beat, Towerbot. Oh, yeah.
Hey!
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 Are you feeling it?
Towerbot, you're kind of hitting the furniture.
This dance isn't
Watch
for
out
everyone,
where you're backing
just
that
the sexy
thing up.
butts.
Hey, look out, man.
Oh! Ow!
Hope you installed your aftershock
He's breaking all my
absorbers.
ceramic unicorns.
Aw, yeah. Break it down.
Bow, bow, doo, dun.
Love, Towerbot.
Well, don't go away. Come back here and sweep up all this mess. Jeez.
Nope, he's boogieing on down the highway, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get the vacuum. Let's just move on. Then.
You know you're in trouble when he puts on his gold metallic gold medallion.
All right, audience, write in and ask him a question that won't result in him destroying the room. I mean, whenever he backs that thing up, you know, it needs to have one of those things like on the back of trucks, you know, the you know, just
He did, but he disconnected because he said it sounded like he was fat.
okay.
Well, and it was, you know, his version was far more rhythmic.
Bow to bow, bow down.
Bow, 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 doo, 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 dun. Yeah.
Ooh.
All right. Well, ask him for your advice. Write in, please. I mean, seriously, write in.
Yeah.
I can't stress this enough. Write in, please.
Right.
Where can they write into?
Towergram@gmail.com, or
If you're
you
feeling
could.
extra saucy.
Yeah, you could call us and leave us a voicemail at 502-286-9372 or 502-2-Tower-2, and we will play your comments on the air. So,
Unless
where
it's
does that
like
leave us?
a ring thing where it's like, you know, you listen to it and 7 days later you die. Hell, we play it.
So, I have just a very quick question about time travel. And this is based on our conversation well, who are we kidding? The thousands of conversations that we've had over the last 3 years about time travel. But last week,
It's quite the sticky wicket.
it is. The question was posed that say you travel back in time and you hook up with your wife before you met her,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And thereby, and just I'm throwing this out there. Correct me if I'm failing to see any particular kind of logic here, but you are the result of what your own timeline, all right? And so if you go back, this is another paradox. If you go back and you influence your own timeline by interfering with your soon-to-be wife's timeline, does that affect your wife's timeline and or her feelings about you or your feelings about you or your wife? Does that affect your own timeline? So could you be in the middle of doing it with your future wife and suddenly explode, and not in the metaphoric sense?
So you're saying right in the middle of doing it, your opinions would change, right? As you're doing it, suddenly. your outlook on
No. I
life
mean,
and your
perhaps
opinions
you'll
Cease
to exist. Yeah. Because you're changing the person that you were before you were that person.
Okay.
Well, it could be that you've always slept with her because you went back in time.
Exactly. Yes.
Maybe nothing's changed because you were predestined to do it in the first place.
Like in your timeline, that has always happened.
Well, that's just some crazy Terminator crap.
Just remember, your wife is a stranger you just haven't met yet.
And I still think it probably primed your wife
So to speak.
kind of be on the lookout for someone like you because she felt like she had a connection. So
Only somebody younger and less experienced.
So basically, it's like
Wait,
from
wait.
your wife's point of view, that incident happened before she met you, but from your point of view, you just haven't done it yet.
Wait,
But it always happened.
what if she was just on the precipice of not liking you and, your previous self just won her over with brute force? But if your future self goes back and interferes with that, that may set her over the edge of just not liking you.
Marriage.
There is no answer to this question.
Marriage.
yes, there is. We can hash this out. Come on now.
Marriage
figure
is
this
a hard road to travel. Marriage is tough. You ask anyone who is married, and they'll tell you being married is not easy. And this is just one of those little things that you
And then they add time travel to the
has
mix.
to get
Yeah,
over. Yeah.
Add the time travel cloverleaf to the highway of your life, and
Good God.
good God.
All right, that's all I wanted to know.
Did
Just
we
wanted
help?
your take on that. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all I wanted. And
I think it always happened.
And audience, if you would like to weigh in on your opinion about this debacle of time travel, please, please do. Please give us a call and leave us a message at 502-286-9372 or write us at towergram@gmail.com.
It's our first debacle of this season 4.
You're right. Yeah.
Yay.
It's 2014 debacle number 1.
It's our inaugural debacle.
Okay.
I hear there's rumors on the internets.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
This is London Court. Here is a news flash. The German radio has just announced that Hitler is dead.
Is Anna Nicole Smith still dead, Wolf?
Yes. Historical perspectives.
Is Anna Nicole still dead?
I haven't updated that for a while. Is she still dead?
Yep, she is.
Okay.
All right, so this is actually a historical perspectives / Kentucky Slim's book club, yo.
Whoa! Book club. Cool. He's dropping knowledge like it's hot, yo.
Yo! All right, so, gosh, this is such a big thing, and I don't know where to begin.
Begin at the beginning.
All right, here's the start. So, today, we're discussing a book called Dead Mountain, which I received as a gift this year for Christmas, and I just finished reading it last week, and so I wrote this book report. And Dead Mountain was actually written in 2013 by author and filmmaker Donnie Icar. And it is the 50-year-old story of 9 Russian hikers who disappeared and were then found in an unusual state for the deceased.
Montana?
No, people die there all the time. From drunk driving, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
Anyway, believe it or not, at some point we actually discussed this story in episode 13 of The Tower. That's season 1. Episode 13, S01E13, way back in 2011.
This story actually has special meaning to me because I had never heard this until you, Paul, brought it up on the podcast. And I'm shocked that I had never heard this before. But I learned something on this podcast. So, yeah.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Finally! But anyway, 2011, man, that was a long time ago. And boy, were we green. And we talk a lot, I've discovered. So I went back.
Figuring this out.
Yeah. I went back and I listened to that episode, and it sounded as though Towerbot had a learning disability. And our version of the story of the Dyatlov Pass incident was creepy and in some areas inaccurate.
Oh, really?
So
I find that shocking and hard to believe.
I know, me too. But considering it was all based on the internet, you get what you pay for. So, for those
that's our motto around here.
I know. Touché. So, for those that are unfamiliar with the incident, here's a quick, a not so quick recap of the facts without all that drama. All right, 1959. 9 experienced, quote, level 2 hikers in their early 20s attempting to achieve their level 3 certification of outdoorsmanship were forced from their tent and ultimately die from what the head investigator termed an unknown compelling force. They were expected to be heard from on February 12th. On February 20th, at the demand of the family, the search for the missing hikers began. 6 days into the search, they discovered the tent on the side of a slope at the base of a mountain above the tree line. The tent was empty of people, but all the group's equipment and boots had been left behind. Investigators had determined that the tent had been cut open from the inside. Cut open from the inside.
So they were trying to get out.
Right. 2 bodies were found at the forest edge with the remains of a fire, dressed only in their underwear. 3 more bodies were found between the forest edge and the camp in various poses, but situated in such a way that they appeared to be attempting to return to the tent. Months later, in May, as the snow was thawing, the remaining 4 hikers were found under 4 meters of snow in a ravine 75 meters farther into the forest. 3 of those had fatal injuries, 1 with major head trauma, 2 others had major chest fractures, and the final person was found missing her tongue.
Ooh.
So, first of all, let's clear up one area chock full of potential errors from the previous podcast in which we discussed this.
I dare you.
The eerie translation of the mountain names. Let's see, I'm going to murder these pronunciations, but I'm going to give it a go. Holacha Summit, where the camp and the bodies were found, was roughly translated as Mountain of the Dead for decades, when in fact, Mansi, semantics experts, Mansi are the indigenous people of that area. Mansi semantics experts believe the mountain was actually named for its lack of vegetation and game. So instead of Mountain of the Dead, we get Dead Mountain.
Oh, it's sort of like the Dead Sea. It's
right.
It isn't called that because everyone that goes there dies horribly. It's because it's so salty that nothing can live in it.
Exactly.
It's sort of like that. Okay.
including the swimmers.
Well, yeah, that's true. Additionally, Otorten Mountain, the ultimate destination of the hikers, was rumored to be translated as, quote, "Don't go there." This, however, the author Icar writes, is not true. The word Otorten is not a Russian or a Mansi word at all, but simply an error on Russian maps resulting from the mispronunciation of a different mountain a few miles to the north. The Mansi actually refer to Otorten by the name Lunt Husap Sayal, meaning mountain of goose nests. So,
well, that's not intimidating at all.
So there you go.
Well, unless you're goosophobic, then it'd be terrifying.
Well, that's true, right? Like maybe if you have like a fear of histoplasmosis, perhaps.
That's true.
Or
and you probably should.
Or just their size, their sheer size. Have you ever been attacked by a goose?
I've been attacked by a swan.
Okay.
Swans are kind of assholes.
Well, yeah.
Swans are just flamboyant geese. That's all they are. Come on. But anyway, to get back to the whole Dyatlov thing, again, it's the little details, the little weirdnesses of this story that keep people interested in, like, what the hell's going on here? Like the whole, Paul, did we mention on that first show that there were burns on some of these bodies? Like, radiation burns?
I think so.
I remember us talking about that maybe, but
it's actually, over the years, it has been the lack of details that has caused there to be so many theories about what happened to them.
Okay, but is everything that you just said, is that true? I mean, they were definitely found missing clothing.
Yeah.
One of them had their tongue cut out.
Missing
is that true?
their tongue.
Oh,
they were missing their tongue.
Missing their tongue. Okay.
Well, one would assume it was cut out.
One would assume that.
Unless it was just bludgeoned out, which is somehow worse.
And the tit was definitely cut from the inside, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
See, even that stuff
those
is
were
weird.
all facts.
Okay. So basically, something made these very experienced hikers leave. Like something made them so panicked that they got up in the middle of the night in negative 20-degree weather and fled without proper clothing. And they were experienced enough to know that this would have been a death sentence. So
right.
What that basically is the central mystery. What is it that terrified them so much to make them do that?
Yeah, that was the better choice.
Yeah.
Right. So, now, we should disclose here that I am actually going to spoil the book.
Ooh.
Because it's been out for a year. I'm not going to, I don't know. There was a very interesting interview on mysteriousuniverse.org podcast with Donnie Icar, and they did not reveal the conclusion that they come to in the book. But we are going to reveal it here tonight.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it a good book to read? I mean, was it well
actually.
written?
And I'm not going to, I'm not going to go into everything. But it's an interesting read, and I think he deserves, some credit for being actually the first person to go to Siberia in the middle of January, no one else has done that to the actual site of the incident.
Yeah, he sort of retraced their steps, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Except for the dying part.
well, yeah. Well, and there weren't 9 of them, so
Yeah, see?
there couldn't have been any synchronicity. It was doomed from the start. No. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the author's list of the known theories, right? And then we'll get to his theories.
So you're going to go over all the crazy conspiracy theories, right?
Right.
'Cause-
Just it's a list, a bullet point, if you will,
right.
of the plausible and the wacky. All right. So number 1, just high winds. That one or a few of them were just accidentally blown away by the 40+ mile an hour winds on the side of a slope. But this assumes that all the remaining hikers would have gone after their members of the group that had been swept away, heedless of the danger. And Icar doesn't think that it's likely that that would have happened, and I have to agree.
Yeah.
9 people really experienced with the outdoors and survival techniques would not have left the safety of the tent without their boots, at the least, you know? Which...
And that doesn't explain the whole cutting out the tent and getting your tongue taken out.
Right. I mean, there's no... it's not necessary to cut your way out of the tent to go after somebody. So
That's one angry wind.
Right. Number 2, delusional hypothermia. Again, 9 experienced hikers all get delusional hypothermia at the same time. I don't think so. So we'll just discount that one immediately. Number 3, avalanche.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I think.
And I thought so too. But then, they actually revealed some details of the investigation, which I should probably also add. There was some talk about conspiracy about the Russian government concealing the evidence of this case for decades. For some reason, legally, according to the Soviet system at the time, they were supposed to keep records for 25 years, and then if nobody had made claim about those records, they could destroy them. And for some reason, they just never did for this case, and they ended up getting released in the 80s, I want to say. But the conspiracy theory still lives on that somehow the KGB and the Russian government is continuing to conceal information, and there is still more to be revealed. But that's not actually true.
Well, getting back to the avalanche thing,
yeah.
Isn't the theory that they were in their tent and they hear the rumbling and they panic and they run out? That's
yeah, and that's the idea of an avalanche, right? That's what you would assume. But when the tent was discovered, it was nearly intact and it hadn't moved down the mountain. Nor was avalanche even remotely likely, given the location of the tent and the angle and grade of the slope that they were on. Okay.
And again, experienced hikers would know, don't pinch your tent in a potential avalanche area, right?
Right.
So.
Exactly. So, number 4, could it have been murder?
Murder?
Yeah. Oh, my.
You mean one of the hikers turned on his fellows?
No.
Oh. Kind of like if Scooby-Doo was more realistic.
Right. But that's not plausible either. And I'll tell you why. But there were no other tracks found near the site other than those of the hikers. Okay. Nor were the local indigenous people, the Mansi, they weren't hostile to outsiders. And even if they were, the nearest settlement was 60 miles away, And also, none of their equipment was missing, so it couldn't have been a robbery. If there had been an attack from escaped prisoners from the famous Russian gulags, of which the closest was over 50 miles away, surely they would have taken something or left some kind of trace that they had been there, but something else compelled them to leave the tent. So it wasn't murder from an outside force.
Yeah, keep in mind, audience, the insides of the tent, it didn't look like there had been a struggle. It didn't look like there had been a robot there dancing. I mean, everything was all nicely piled up, right? Everything was still neat and tidy, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
In fact, there was food getting ready to be prepared. Everything was kind of stowed away, and they were getting ready to, basically go to sleep. So
Forever.
Hey, this was all 9 people in one tent, right?
Right. It was a really large tent. Yeah.
Okay.
They're really friendly.
So we can rule out murder. Now, the idea that somebody within the group wanted to murder them or force them out of the tent, well, the 10th member of the group that ended up turning back, the 2 days before they ended up dying, he said that there's no way in hell that would have been a possibility because they were all very, very close friends. Not to mention that they're, how did they end up forcing them out of the tent and not return? How did they all die?
They ruled out robot with a jetpack. Around here, you can never rule out robot with a jetpack.
Well, we can discuss that at the end because
secret military program. Yeah.
So, number 5, animal attack. We can rule that out because there weren't any other tracks. And the cuts, not rips, in the tent were determined to have been made from the inside. So, rule that out.
Can I ask
Ninja
a
bear.
question? Could
Yeah.
the animals have caused the injuries to the 4 that were found later, like the one with the tongue missing and the chest damage? Could the animals have done that after they had died, maybe trying to eat them?
No.
Okay.
No. And let's just go ahead and talk about that. The 4 that were found down in that ravine, it was, imagine this, right? You're running. It's pitch black. You don't have a flashlight. And you're going through the trees, and suddenly the ground drops out from beneath you, and you land down on a rock, about 14 feet down. That explains what happened to those people. And the woman that was in that group that was missing her tongue, it turns out that her body, all of those 4, they were basically found under, several feet of snow. And when they got down in there into the ravine, the woman who was missing her tongue was actually laying in, it was snow slush mixed with the ravine, the creek water.
Okay.
And what they think happened was that the microscopic fauna of the creek water basically just attacked her fleshiest parts of her exposed body.
Okay. Yeah.
And it just ate away at her mouth. So let's move on to something not quite as gruesome. Number 6, radiation-related testing and government cover-up. So this is a really popular theory.
Yay!
Among the Russians especially. And I think it had to do with Cold War. And in the book, there's actually some interesting insights to how Russians felt about their own government at that time. We won't talk about that, but so it's definitely worth a read. But there was some speculation that potentially the hikers had accidentally stumbled upon an area that was being secretly utilized by the government. And there were definitely some odd reactions by the government on how to handle the criminal investigation. And according to eyewitnesses, there were KGB agents at the first funeral in attendance. I mean, it was there were odd reactions by the government. There was radiation found on the hikers' clothes, and that was responsible for the idea that some weapon had exploded above or near the campsite, forcing them from their tent and potentially blinding them, etc. However, ICAR submitted the radiation test results from the original investigation to a Dr. Strauss, associate professor of radiology at the University of Chicago Medical Center. And he determined that, quote, by today's scientific understanding of radiation levels, the beta particle decays cited in the criminal case for the hikers' clothing were nowhere near an abnormal range. They would have had to have been 50 to 100 times the level detected to reach dangerous levels of radiation. So, that means that radiation exposure was just native in that environment. And, there were rocket tests about 250 miles away. There were experiments going on by the Russian government during the Cold War, we all know, with nuclear testing. So it was in their environment, but it wasn't it wouldn't have been enough to burn their skin. And they had actually determined that the reason that their skin had turned a different color was because just from exposure after they had died, and just the UV radiation from their bodies sitting out several days was enough to burn their skin.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unexpected. Okay. Huh.
So,
all right. So,
there's one more.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
UFO attack.
That's what I was going to ask. Okay, good.
This kind of goes along with my robot with a jetpack.
Because there's one detail that you haven't mentioned yet. Okay.
All right, here we go. We got UFO / robot with a jetpack attack. So,
yeah.
Giant fireballs were witnessed in the area in mid-February. Not unusual, I guess, for secret missile launches in the Urals during the Cold War in Russia, which might account for the official secrecy or the downplay of the incident by the government. Okay. But
now, when you say fireballs, do you mean like meteor or like just lights in the sky?
I mean fireballs.
Okay,
because
balls of fire.
That was the word that was used by the witnesses who saw the fireballs.
Okay.
So,
by the way, guys, question. I know I'm getting off your line here, but are the people that saw them and reported them, were they the people that went in the rescue party, or
no?
Who was
When the
fireballs?
search party was tracing their path. Because they had to leave a schedule of checkpoints that they had to go. They had to leave that back at the base camp. Okay. So as they're going along and interviewing these people, they're saying, "Oh yeah, they would stop by a logging camp and talk to the people there, and they would tell them things that they saw in the sky."
I gotcha. Okay. All right.
So it was in the process of doing the investigation that sort of theory birthed itself. However, unfortunately for the UFO fans out there, the hikers went missing at the beginning of February, and the fireballs weren't sighted until late February. Oh. So, here is where ICAR actually won me over on this. On page 233.
Boy, you're spoiling the hell out of this book.
Here we go. Space aliens, etc. He writes, there were, of course, those who would put forth interstellar visitation as the answer to Sherlock Holmes' quote, whatever remains, however improbable, but I was holding out hope that I could find an explanation that didn't involve extraterrestrials. I'm not saying I don't entertain the idea of life existing out there somewhere in the vast universe, but if one is going to fall back on malevolent alien visitors without backing it up with evidence, one may as well throw ghosts, the hand of God, and devious subterranean gnomes into the mix. Aliens were off the table, and I suppose robots with rockets as well. So, there you go.
All right.
However, after removing all of the impossibilities, Icar could only return to some kind of unusual natural phenomena. And this is what the book was building up to, and Icar comes to an interesting conclusion. Spoiler alert!
Okay,
I'm going
spoiler
to reveal
alert.
it.
People, if you don't want to know what this is, unplug your podcast, go listen to something else.
Go somewhere else, maybe listen to the actual interview with the author where he doesn't reveal this.
Right,
All
right. And I have been waiting 3 years to hear the solution to this. Okay, so, all right, go.
All right. All right. Infrasound.
What?
Okay.
Infrasound.
Infrasound.
Seriously?
Yeah. You've heard of ultrasound, right?
Well, not actually heard it.
I
Well,
have heard of
right.
infrasound. If I could be so bold, isn't infrasound?
You've heard of the concept. Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, it's because it's a theory that they have for Bigfoot.
Let's explain it.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So ultrasound uses sound that is above 2 megahertz and past the upper limit of human hearing. So infrasound is the reverse of that, a low frequency sound that occurs beyond the realm of human hearing, below 20 hertz.
The Lou Rawls era.
And and you won't believe this. There's actually an app for that.
Oh.
Yeah, there's an app that will play all the tones at these various levels just so you can kind of get a feel for the idea. The app is called Tone Gen. So let's see, I'm firing up the iPad here.
Oh, you're not going to play it and make us all poop, are you?
I have to
Say, don't play the brown sound.
I have to close Clash of Clans, and here we go. Tone Gen. All right, and I have it set to 16 point. Oh, damn! It's so sensitive. 16.9 hertz. All right, and I am playing now. Hear that?
No.
Right.
But I felt it. Yeah.
I heard the Hertz donut.
Yeah, as a bass player, there is this legendary note that all bass players talk about in hushed tones whenever we go to our annual conventions. It's the poop note, and apparently there is a really low frequency that you can hit or find that if you get it just right, it'll make everyone in the room suddenly feel the need to go to the bathroom, and it's this like legendary tone that no one
brown
is.
noise.
And that is
Yeah.
totally the idea.
Okay.
It really is. Infrasound actually has the capacity to reveal itself by turning your body or anything, for that matter, into like a tuning fork. As long as it's vibrating at the correct frequency.
And it kind of made them go crazy?
Well, let me get into that. So,
Okay, yeah, sorry.
It's been linked. Infrasound's been linked to humans experiencing nervous feelings of revulsion, awe, agitation, anxiety, extreme sorrow, and feelings of pressure on the chest. And the higher the volume, the greater the intensity. If you were interested in reading more about infrasound, there's a quick little wiki entry for it that includes some of the experiments that have been performed. But one of the postulated results of infrasound is experiencing ghosts and strange lights.
Ooh.
So, tie-in, and it's actually very, very interesting, some of the experiments that they've done with infrasound. But anyway, here is what Donnie Eichar, along with some help from the folks at NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, think happened that fateful night in 1959. Eicher at first thought that it was nearby rock formation called Boot Rock, on an otherwise barren landscape that caused the production of infrasound waves from the wind going over the rock, and that wind or that infrasonic wave targeted the campsite. But
really,
as it turns out, because of the irregular shape of the rock, that was an impossible scenario. However, and Eichar was distraught. He had an entire evening of turmoil trying to figure out how he went wrong, because he was sure of the infrasound link. But someone at NOAA actually told him that after reviewing all of the data, that it was very, very possible, plausible, and likely, in fact, that the dome of the slope that the hikers were on just happened to be the perfect shape to create a weather anomaly of twin vortices.
Yeah.
So there's a picture in the show notes that I'm about to reveal to the guys here. This is essentially how it works. The wind blows up the slope and creates a tube of spinning air.
Okay.
Based on the slope, the trajectory of the wind, and the speed. And as it reaches the top, it bends that tube and ends up turning it on its ends, creating twin tornadoes, essentially. And what
it's
ended up
sort of like an ocean wave breaking on a rock, and it splits off, and
right,
almost
right,
okay.
And so as the twin tornadoes take shape on either side of the tent, a powerful, high-volume infrasonic wave was created that was strong enough to vibrate the entire campsite. We're really not talking about a huge amount of distance, so it was probably very, very close. They can hear the roar as if like 5 freight trains are about to come through the tent. Their heads begin to pound as if they have all been struck with the same terrible migraine. Their chests vibrate strangely. The skis beneath the tent that they'd used to level out the surface of the campsite on an incline began to shake violently. This initial feeling of indeterminate anxiety rapidly worsens until it manifests as full-blown excruciating terror. The hikers are no longer just anxious about the wind. A deeper fear has set in. What is happening to us? This may not even be a question they're capable of posing to themselves. The effects of the infrasonic frequencies have temporarily robbed them of their rational minds, and now they are operating under the more primal instinct of flight response. All the hikers want to do is stop the intense discomfort, to get away from it, as if the tent is a swiftly sinking ship and the hikers must abandon it at all costs, even at the risk of drowning. Get out! Get out! Get out! Is all they can think. It is pitch black, no moon, and 25 degrees below zero.
That's amazing. Seriously,
There you go.
That is so wow.
And that is the ultimate reveal. I'm sorry, Donnie Eichar, but it's been out a year,
Wow. So how do you think? Are you on board with this theory? Or?
I like that it's far more scientific than most of the other.
Then the
theories.
Blair Witch came and took them out of their tent. Okay,
right. Wow. So just because it's plausible doesn't mean it happened, But
Still like the robot with jetpacks, but yeah, okay.
It's pretty darn. There was the reason why I brought up that Wikipedia entry, because I was reading about infrasound. There was actually this study that was done. It was actually he discovered it accidentally. It was this researcher at Coventry University, and he was working late one night in a supposedly haunted laboratory when he felt very anxious, and he could detect a gray blob out of the corner of his eye. And then when he turned to face the gray blob, it wasn't there. And then the following day, he was working on his fencing foil with the handle in a vise, right? So it's pointing, it's pointing away.
Right.
And although there wasn't anything touching the blade, it started to vibrate wildly. And as he investigated it, he discovered that the extractor fan in the lab was emitting a frequency of 18.98 hertz. And that's also close to the resonant frequency of the eye, given as 18 hertz by NASA. And this is why, he thought he saw a ghost. And it was an optical illusion caused by his eyeballs resonating.
Ow.
So
Well, you probably couldn't feel it, but that just sounds...
I know, it sounds really uncomfortable, but,
Yeah.
so if you take that kind of idea, right, and there are definitely, I guess that's what made it really, really exciting to me, was not necessarily just the story of the hikers, but the potential for that explanation to explain a whole lot of other things.
And it's sort of like, they could have pinched their tent anywhere, and they just happened to be at that exact spot where that would exactly happen. Like
they pitched it there because they were trying to get their level 3 certification, their survival certification, and so there were certain parameters that they had to follow in order to get that. And one of which was, they had to, be so many days in a tent outside of anywhere where there was a sustainable forest or anything like that. So they couldn't have the safety of the forest where they pitched their tent.
I will never get the certification.
What I was thinking was, just looking at the physics of it, it seems like if they had just been like a couple hundred yards maybe to the left or, or to something, they wouldn't have been right in that shooting range alley.
Well, who knows? I mean, if they'd been
phenomenon.
a couple yards, a few hundred yards to the left or the right, they might have wound up in the direct path of the vortex.
They still would have died.
I was going to say it wouldn't have been any worse.
Wow. It's sort of like, it's like thousands of ships have crossed the ocean, but it's the Titanic that everyone is obsessed with because it just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And
at the right
that's
time.
sort of what happened here then,
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
so, wow.
So
you know what? You're right. I love it more because it's not a paranormal excuse, if that makes sense.
It's physics.
Yeah. I mean, now that we know things about these anomalies that occur in nature, I mean, they happen all the time. Whether it's like, if a tree falls in the wilderness and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound? Yeah, it does. It happens all the time, but, we're just not there to experience it. So, it really makes sense. Do I think that there is a possibility that there may have been other elements to this story? Sure. There is definitely the possibility, just as there is the possibility that he could be completely wrong about this idea. But it's a darn good theory.
Yeah, the one thing I'm wondering is if there had been two little mini tornadoes kind of swirling on either side of the tent, wouldn't there have been like some snow divots? Like wouldn't there have been kind of two pits carved out, or snow kind of blown in a circular pattern, maybe? Or,
no, I doubt it. Just, I mean, if it was in the middle of the storm.
Oh, okay,
I'm
yeah,
going
that's
back through.
true. Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's a tornado in snow throwing snow around, it's just going to cover up its own tracks.
Hey, I had another theory.
And
it's a little sciencey. It could have been there was some sort of a gas leak that had come up from the ground, and the gas had, and they had been breathing in this gas, and it made them sick. Maybe it made them feel like they were burning up, and it made them start to hallucinate, and they kind of went crazy, and they were like, I got to get out of here. They tore out of the tent and they ran out, and by the time they were walking a little bit and their heads cleared, it was too late. They were already, dead. So
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that's, why not?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there wasn't any evidence to suggest that, but there wasn't any evidence to suggest this either. It just happened to be the right type of environment for that to occur. But, the same thing could be said for, an earthquake that didn't create any outward destruction, but maybe generated a very large ULF frequency.
Yeah.
That did the same thing, I mean, who knows?
Or there's the obvious, the Soviet Army had developed a crazy ray, and they tested it on them.
Hey, actually, why not?
Fired from a jetpack-mounted robot.
Well, I mean, there's this big movement now in the U.S. military to make non-lethal weapons to be used against rioting crowds, and they're looking at everything from high-pitched noises to heat rays, basically.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and a lot of those use the same principles that we're talking about here.
Hey, by the way, audience, if you were to Paul, how do you spell this? Dyatlov Pass.
It's Dyatlov. It's
okay. It's a Dyatlov.
Okay, if you were to type,
I was going to try that, but I didn't see it in front of me.
If audience type Dyatlov Pass into Google Images, and one of the really eerie things about this case is that when they found the hikers and all of their equipment, they also found a camera with undeveloped film, and so there is a photo. There's a photographic kind of evidence of which basically shows the hikers going there and setting up camp. I mean, it doesn't show anything spoilery. I mean, it isn't like the Blair Witch Project, but it's just weird that they found the camera, they developed it, and here's the hikers setting up their tent, and everyone looks happy and all. But Dave and Paul, this neat map came up, and I emailed it to you. Have you guys seen that?
I'm looking at it now. Map.
There's something interesting.
Reconstruction. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Apparently, according to this, it says that there were 2 other incidents of where 9 people died in this exact same area.
Was one of them a plane crash?
Yes, there was a plane crash in 1991 where 9 people died,
right.
And the native Mansi people. There's a legend that 9 people died there hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, we actually discussed that in episode 13 of season 1.
Oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but it's like the number 9 keeps popping up and up, like 1959, 1991, it's just, and what did we make of that, all those many years ago?
Do not send 9 people there.
Okay.
I don't know. But
the shortstop stays home.
A lot of these photos actually were in the book. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, Google Image probably got them from this guy's book.
Yeah, probably.
So, yeah.
But I think you get kind of a sense of the location. There's one of the tent where it's like the tent kind of torn to shreds.
Uh-huh. Is that black and white line?
And there's the 2 skis that are sticking straight up. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And so that kind of gives you a sense of the slope that they were on. It wasn't steep enough for there to be an avalanche. But that destruction of the tent didn't happen whenever they found the tent. There was actually a hatchet that was sitting outside of the tent, and the first people to come upon the tent were so anxious to find out if they were in there, cut it open with a hatchet.
I gotcha. Okay.
So they ended up destroying the tent and the evidence, but
Because they were trying to save whoever's in there. So yeah.
yeah, they were trying to save lives.
Yes, something else, audience. When you do this, the rescue party took pictures of the dead bodies as they found them, and that pops up too. So that's probably don't want to have your kids there as you're opening this up, but oh my gosh, this is so interesting. Wow. Oh man.
And there is a really there's a movie that a teen flick, in fact, that they based on this incident. I believe it's called Dead Pass or
Devil's Pass.
Devil's Pass. Thank you. I started watching it the other night and I couldn't make it 10 minutes. It's so bad. It's really, really awful.
Oh, it looks like there's kind of alien ghoul things that are going after them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, hey, there's something I wanted to mention too. I said that I had heard of infrasound because they talk about it in regards to Bigfoot, and what I meant was there are actually they have actually been able to determine that certain large animals like tigers are able to produce a very low frequency sound, infrasound, and
that's
this
awesome.
and they use this sound to intimidate prey. And so there's this theory that Bigfoots maybe are able to create a similar type of infrasound growl or rumble, because there are several really good eyewitness cases that talk about how they were suddenly gripped with this odd fear, with this weird anxiety suddenly hitting them. It was like being hit with this like ray, and the minute the Bigfoot is gone, it's like they come out of this trance almost. So that's how I had heard of infrasound, and that. So I kind of understand when you're saying that they would suddenly be filled with this unexpected, unrealistic kind of terror, from this frequency. So neat. Huh.
Yeah. And imagine, I mean, you've all heard, because of where we live, we get to hear about tornadoes all the time, right? And you get to hear about how people describe the experience of being in or very near a tornado. And they, the volume is just deafening. I mean, it is really, really, really loud. So imagine if
you're being surrounded by that,
Right, surrounded by that on both sides, and it is actually generating some kind of infrasonic wavelength. Just because the volume is so loud, it's plausible. It could drive you crazy.
Wow, that's cool.
I could see that.
I never would have thought of that. That's great. You get an A on your book report, Paul. Okay.
Thanks, Mrs. Smith. All right, so the big reveal is over, and now you can return to the podcast.
Bigfoot Roundup. Ay-ya-ay-ya.
Kentucky Slim, Conduit. Do you guys remember the story of Hank the Bigfoot?
How could we forget it?
Give us a little recap of homeless Hank, so I don't have to talk so much.
Dave? You're an expert by now.
Yes. You've heard me go on and on about this. Let's see if you really pay attention to me.
Oh, damn. Okay, I'll run a simulation of faking it. Famed Bigfoot hunter Rick Dyer went out with a BBC film crew to film him shooting a Bigfoot varmint. They nailed some ribs, I think from a Walmart, to a tree. Yeah. And then in the midst of all the confusion, the Bigfoot was shot. they have this on film, which may or may not have been seen, and he has the body, which may or may not have been found, and he keeps threatening to put it off on people, but the last we heard, the Men in Black took it.
Yeah. Now, you all may recall, last November...
Tower Bot does have this on.
Oh, good, because I was actually gonna ask for that. Dyer, insane redneck Dyer, released a statement saying that the Men in Black had come and taken away his Bigfoot body. Towerbot, please play that clip.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:38 this morning. The Bigfoot body was confiscated. It will never be released. It will never be released to the public. It's gone. And there's nothing that I can do about it but inform y'all that there will be no body in December. Period.
Oh, he sounds so sad. Well, good news, guys. Turns out he was lying. That's
about what?
Okay, all right. Audience, bear with me here because I want to get Kentucky Slims and Conduits pure reaction. Guys, check your email. I just sent you an email. Please open that up. It says open this first and tell me what you see.
Looks like Santa Claus after the Dyatlov Pass.
It does. It looks like a frostbitten, dead, no, well, I was going to say Chewbacca, but sure. Okay.
What you guys are looking at is a picture of homeless Hank. He has finally released the body. He was lying. Apparently, he was lying about the Men in Black coming to take away his body because he was doing that to fool everyone who doesn't believe him, his haters. So you see, it's totally okay to believe him now. So what you have now in front of you, and I just sent you a second email with even more views of homeless Hank. And audience, go to toweroftechnobabble.com.
Wait a minute.
Take a look at the pictures. And there it is. There's your Bigfoot. And
the autopsy scar is a nice touch, I thought.
Wait a minute. Is that him or is that
that is him. That's him with the
repeater.
Looks like Josh Whedon, actually.
Okay.
Wait, what's the second one? I don't know. I can't.
It's Bigfoot taint. It's a picture of the crotch and it's blurred out.
No, the other one. the one with the bar over top of it. It looks like he's encased in ice or something.
No, that's just in the little case that he's carrying him around.
It's his carry-all.
So basically, this is what he is now passing off as his dead Bigfoot body. And he's now saying Bigfoot is 100% real. There's no question about it. And here is his proof. And he's saying that every test that you can possibly imagine has been performed on this body. And I am quoting. He says everything from DNA tests to 3D optical scans to body scans. I don't know what a 3D optical scan is. Isn't that where you just sort of look at something and yeah, there's a body. So the thing is, this has been popping up on the news like here and there, and it's like most people are laughing at him, and with good reason, I think, because that is the most terrible looking fake body I've ever seen, man. I mean, if you look really close at that face, you can actually see like little glue marks where he glued the
you're looking in high def. You shouldn't do that.
Why would you take a picture of Bigfoot ass? Why is that necessary?
Maybe he was proving that that the body wasn't just the top half.
Was anatomically correct.
Yeah. So now he's saying that like he has been fighting with his investors for an entire year to get the body and he's saying that's why he hasn't shown it, and he is now going to have doctors check it out. But he had said a year ago that he had scientists checking it out, so I don't know. But so his plans are now that he is going to take the body on a tour across the United States, Mexico, and Canada, and he will charge a small fee to view the body. Which, when you think about it, isn't that kind of like what they did with Abraham Lincoln?
Except that Abraham Lincoln was real.
Well, yeah, but he is gonna let the mourners. He is going to let the mourners come and give their final respects to the dead Bigfoot. And get this, here is the vehicle that he's going to be taking him in. The find of the
Tell
century.
me it's by train. Is it by train?
Check your email, and you will see what he is carting around the find of the century in.
Really?
Potty,
that's classy.
Yeah,
that's classy.
Somebody explain what you're looking at. Okay.
Class. That's what I'm looking at. Class.
That is a what are those called? It's a Toyota
Tundra.
Oh God, something. Is that what it is?
It's
it's
a
four. It's an SUV. It's a looks like a Toyota SUV.
And he's basically got a trailer that you buy at Home Depot hooked up to the back of it, and it's covered in vinyl. See the only dead Bigfoot alive, and it's got Rick Dyer's face huge on it. And one of the photos is actually you can see that he has on the side of the van. It is the "I Told You So" tour,
as seen on TV.
Nice.
BigfootToday.com. See the only dead Bigfoot. I told you so tour.
So he's going to cart around the find of the century worth gazillions of dollars in this little parts trailer. And sources are saying that it's not refrigerated. It's basically just a wooden box that he's taking it around, and he's going to take it to carnivals and all that. And so what do you guys think? You've seen a Bigfoot now. What do you guys think?
I like it. Actually, I think it's great. It's just like the circus shows of yesteryear. You'd go in and see the bearded lady, or the strongest man in the world, or the flea circus. Flea circus.
Yeah. Okay. Now
it just takes a little imagination, and boy, you got a hit on your hands. And this man is just an entrepreneur. That's all.
I went to BigfootToday.com.
I did too.
Arrow 403.
Yeah, Error
Forbidden.
403, forbidden.
Well, I'll put some good links for you up, but there. Let me now, as you guys
Maybe
probably
he switched
can guess,
to BigfootToday.gov.
as you guys can probably guess, people in the Bigfoot field are, they're finding some problems with this.
Are they having a big old hissy fit?
Oh yeah, and basically it's because this Bigfoot that Dyer has finally produced looks nothing like what he has been saying Homeless Hank actually looks like, and that is why I'm going to direct you to your email one last time to look at one more photo. What this is a collage of the three former ideas of what we were told Hank looks like. The first photo is a still from that BBC documentary which supposedly filmed Dyer shooting it. The middle photo is apparently a video that Dyer says he took on his cell phone before he shot Hank. And the third image is from an eyewitness sketch that got to see Hank back in February of last year. So,
well, obviously it's like Lucas. He didn't have the budget at first to, properly visualize the Bigfoot he shot, and as time goes on, he's been able to, add to it.
So, it's like all of these previous images, the Bigfoot has a receding hairline, but the Bigfoot that he is now saying is what he has shot, it looks like a giant troll doll. I mean, it's got hair everywhere,
Hair grows after death.
It must, because it's all over. So now Dyer supporters, they're saying there's a reason for this. There's one of two things. The first one is that this is a quote-unquote replica body of Hank because the mysterious investors would not allow Dyer to travel the country with the real body in a Home Depot trailer. The second point that they're making is that this is a ploy to again fool the people who don't believe Dyer, all of his haters, and that at the big press conference, Dyer is going to remove the fake mask to reveal the real dead body under it.
Like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Wait, now you say Dyer supporters.
Oh, yes.
How many people are we talking about? Is it like the Bigfoot porn community? Is it like 5 people?
Well,
there's probably some overlap.
As you might recall from season 3, when I would talk about this every now and then, this guy just had people supporting him like crazy because they wanted to believe in Bigfoot so much, and they joined his team. And do you remember he was going to sell videos for $200 each, and there was going to be a pay per view where he was going to reveal it, and there were people that were just like dying to believe him because they want to believe in Bigfoot so much, but all the lies and all that, they just sort of all fallen off, and everyone, so this story has been popping up all over on little news sites, and no one's really buying it because they are rightly bringing up the fact that this was also the guy who helped put the Bigfoot body in the freezer back in 2008, but so the press conference is apparently going to be February 9th. And that's where he's going to have a doctor come out and point it with a stick and, say that it's real. And also get this. Do you guys know the $10 million Bigfoot bounty show that's on Spike TV that starts, I think, next week or this week? Dyer is now, and it's by the way, it's hosted by Dean Cain, who used to play Superman on TV. Dyer is now putting out YouTube videos demanding that the producers and Dean Cain come to Dyer's house with their checkbook and pay him $10 million because he's the only one who has a real body. So, and
that check would bounce so high.
Well, Dean Cain's response was, I quote, "I would be willing to bet some money that it is not real. $10 million. And one of the scientists that are on the show who are going to be a judge, they said that this was completely worthless. And this is his actual quote. "Dude, I am not going to take your word for it or your crappy photo. Show us something real." So, but still, he's popping up on news shows. Like he was on the Australian version of the Today Show, and
free trip to Australia.
Yes. So, what are you gonna do? But there it is. Your proof. Your actual photographic proof that Bigfoot exists, and this insane redneck did shoot it, and he was just lying when he said that the Men in Black came and took it. So everything about this is above board completely. So,
oh my God, that is really, really terrible.
My favorite thing is the trailer with all the vinyl wraps on it. Because, he's going to park overnight in the Best Western, and he's going to leave the trailer out of the parking lot. And Paul, do you remember when you and I were in a promising local rock band, and we, for 2 minutes, had the idea that we should put the name of our band on our trailer, and someone older and wiser than us pointed out that if you do, it turns it into a target for people to break into it and steal all of your expensive stuff. So,
hey, free instrument.
This is basically saying, come and steal the find of the century from this trailer at this Best Western parking lot where no one's
Thus, this is the next step of the story. He was going to show it, but damned if somebody didn't steal it out of the trailer.
You're a genius! Conduit. Well done.
You're so right. That is probably exactly what's going to happen.
That is his in game.
There's going to be a blurry photo of a Jimmy Block, and yeah.
Well, I got to say, I'm very happy at this development because whenever Dyer had that announcement that the Men in Black came and took his body and no one was ever going to see it, I was sad because I wanted this to end in a spectacular sideshow failure. And that's what's actually happening. It's the best Christmas present ever.
Huzzah.
There seems to be a lot of this going around. Like, people are really trying to cash in on, mysteries revealed, traveling roadshow. Mystery revealed traveling roadshow. Get your first glimpse.
I would totally watch that.
Actually would too. If I thought something was actually going to be revealed.
Not like this show where we reveal all sorts of stuff.
Boy, we spoiled everything tonight. We spoiled
Yeah,
the mystery of the Dyatlov Pass. We showed Bigfoot's real face. Seriously.
We found out bots can be funky.
I know, you're looking at it right now. Bigfoot's face is probably plastered all over the page. That
Well, it's made out of plaster. Yes, I think you can say that. But seriously, when I first saw that picture, I was laughing for half an hour. It is the and our old friend Dr. Jeff Meldrum, he came out with a statement. He basically said that after a year, he would have thought that someone could have found a better taxidermist because it's terrible. So anyway, audience, if you have seen Bigfoot and if it looks exactly like this giant troll doll, well, tell us about it. Write us at towergram@gmail.com, or you can call us
and describe it.
Yes. Describe the infrasound as he was putting on his makeup and coming at you. So
the number is 502-286-9372. By the way, just throw that out there.
Or 502-2-Tower-2.
Well, that's Bigfoot taken care of. What do you guys want to look into next?
Well, I hear that somebody out there has actual photos of an alien critter, which that's what I'm trying to ferret out here in the next week or so.
Is the person gonna take a dead alien body and put it in flea markets and charge money to look at it? Because that's what you do. You know, that's what you do.
I know. Well, if you want to make money, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right? So. Yeah.
That's the motto of the show.
I think there's going to be a traveling road show, involving just the photos.
Hope you carbon-based units enjoyed this episode. If you did, do us a solid and rate us on iTunes. If you'd like to spout a half or fully baked opinion, email us at towergram@gmail.com or call us at 502-286-9372 or 502-2-Tower-2. Tower of Technobabble is sponsored by Panorama Creative Group. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Da 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 dun. Bow da 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 dun dun. Da da da. Dun 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 da da dun da 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 dun. Dun.
Aw, yeah.
Bow.